This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
As followers of Jesus, in whom all things were made, we acknowledge the Darug people as the traditional custodians of the country on where this podcast is recorded. We recognise their continuing connection to the land and waters and thank them for protecting this land and its ecosystems since time immemorial. We pay our respects to elders past, present and future, and we extend that respect to all First Nations peoples listening today.
Village culture is that by 12, expectation in the village is being engaged and married and look after the family farm, help with vegetable garden. Absolutely. I had no intention to tell them because I know that that's the last thing that they would let me do. I knew that my sister wasn't ready to get married. I knew that she didn't want to be married and leave home by age.
I'm Georgia, and welcome to Finding Hope, the podcast that reminds you of the good in the world. Each episode tells the story of someone who has found real hope in challenging times and made the world a bit of a better place along the way. Episode 70, Som Tamang. Yesterday, the 25th of April 2024, was the 9-year anniversary of the earthquake in Nepal, which killed almost 9,000 people and injured over 20,000 more. I still remember reading through the devastation in the news like it was yesterday. Remote villages like Batassi, high in the Himalayas, were reduced to rubble. Today, it is my absolute honour to have Som Tamang on the podcast. Som is originally from Batassi, and he was a child slave at 10 years old before fighting to be educated and make it out of his village. Som is now an Aussie citizen living in Cairns with his soulmate Susan and their 3 children. Som has devoted his life to making education accessible for people in his village, especially young girls, and it's an honour to speak with him today. Som, welcome to Finding Hope.
Thank you very much, Georgia, and I'm glad to share my story with everyone.
Now, Som, when most of us think of Nepal, we think of Mount Everest, right? That's where most people's minds go to, but obviously there is a lot more to the country than that. You grew up in the village of Batassi, as I mentioned, which is 1,800 metres above sea level and a 2-day trek from Kathmandu. What is the village of Batassi actually like? Try and paint me a picture.
Batassi village is very, very close to Tibet border and also not very far from capital Kathmandu in Nepal. It's a very, very beautiful mountain village. Every day I wake up with the sunrise over the Himalayas. It's a stunning village and stunning mountain, but the story inside the village is different to the view that I see every day.
What is life like? What was life like for you growing up there?
Life was very different to the life that children have in Australia. I have 3 children myself, 10 to 13, and their story and their life will be completely different to what I had one same age as them. Growing up in Batassi, it was very, very different. Every day I wake up with having to look after chickens and putting the grass to the goats and buffalo with my mom. And then if you're a lucky child in Batassi, you might get to go to school, but it wasn't the really story of mine until really late in my childhood.
So talk me through, you were 10 years old where you were basically sent to a family with the promise of education, correct? You wanted to go to school, you wanted to learn. What happened instead?
Look, a lot of young people like myself left the village, and I knew they left to go to school in Kathmandu. And I thought they were going to Kathmandu, and I seen that they're leaving the village, and I thought, why not? I might follow one of these guys who's going to give me this new life and education and school. to attend because this guy from the village told me that there is a family who would like to adopt someone like myself and give an opportunity to go to school just like one of their children. But yes, I did pack my bag and hidden away. And one morning I got up and followed this man from the village. And I ended up in Kathmandu in dark night, not knowing where I arrived. And the story really began from there. And yes, absolutely. The guy who told me I was going to go to school was complete lie. And I never got to go to school. Instead, I was trapped in the family doctor's house and I was having to cook, clean, go shopping with them, total trap for several years.
And we'll talk about that in just a second. I just want to rewind a minute. When you say this family wanted to adopt you, was this like a common practice? Like was it like a permanent thing? Like you would just leave your village like never to come back?
The village man who took me and who gave me the offer told me I would get an time to go to school. I would get an education. I would be looked after just like one of their children. It was I never asked a question what would be like. I was naive. I was innocent, and I also didn't know the question to ask if I'm really gonna be like their children or not. I just accepted that. Well, this opportunity sounds like one that I don't want to miss. And I just agreed. And one day I packed my little bag and followed him to Kathmandu. But this was all done in my own decision. It was not my parents' decision. My parents, in fact, don't even know I was leaving. Didn't know until I left. So
wow, you didn't tell them. Did you think that they would try and stop you?
absolutely, because the village culture is that by 12, expectation in the village is being engaged and married and look after the family farm, help the family to look after the animals, to take it to the jungle and help with the farm animals and help with vegetable garden, farming for the food, yearly seasonal food. Absolutely. I had no intention to tell them because I know that that's the last thing that they would let me do.
And how many brothers and sisters? What was the sibling order? Because I know you have a younger sister, at least.
Before I left my village, I had two brothers and two sisters. I was the oldest son, and I had one sister older than me who was engaged to be married.
How old was she at the time?
She would have been about 12 or 13.
Wow.
And she was engaged. Thankfully, she didn't get married. That had lots of consequences for my sister. And she's gone through a lot, which I witnessed, which was not really nice. I knew that my sister wasn't ready to get married. I knew that she didn't want to be married and leave home at by age. And in fact, I have witnessed my sister gone through a hell. And village people and my parents won't believe this, but I know that this would relate to be because she's been forced to be engaged by 12 or 13. Probably because of that, she had become really, really ill. She had a lot of mental health. And result of that, thankfully, the marriage fell apart, engagement fell apart, and in a way that it worked in her favor and didn't have to marry until later on, which was also still too early in her teenage.
Is she still in the village?
Yeah, my older sister, her name is Tokmaya, and she was later on forced into second marriage with another village boy, and that resulted now she have one teenage boy who is just completing school and one adult daughter. But it was about 15 years ago, I had to rescue her from really violent and abusive marriage, which resulted in very bad place. Because of that, I rescued her to come to family home with us. And now we have a charity hostel, which rescues a lot of children who once was herself in the early age when she was engaged. So we rescue those young girls who being forced to being married or leave home for other purposes from the family. So she's the cook, she's the full-time staff in the charity hostel.
Yeah, it's incredible. And we will get to that because it's just an incredible story. Now, Som, back to you. You were essentially a child slave for this family for 2 years, completely trapped, no signs on the horizon of getting an education, which was the whole purpose of you packing up your bags. How did you get out?
Look, it took a long time planning. And when I think about my situation, I put myself as a Nelson Mandela being in the prison. So even though I was in the trap, my mind was never trapped. So I knew there was a way out. Eventually, I found my way out. I met some people from my village doing a labor work in the nearby where I was a slave to this family. He was able to tell me which way to go back to my village and where the local bus station was. So I managed to save a little bit of money that they send each day to go shopping. I was able to put apart a little bit each time, which I had enough to pay for the bus back to my village after a couple of years. And when I was returned to my village, I had little brother, new siblings in the family who is now about 19 or 20. He's a university student. My parents struggling even more because my youngest brother, who is now one of the smartest child that my parents had, he's the only one doing a university degree in Nepal other than me completing in Australia after I came here. So I saw much more difficult life, and which I went back to village hoping that I would go to school in the nearby village, in the nearby town. It really didn't happen because the struggle was much worse for my parents. So again, few months later, I decided to go back to Kathmandu, not to get education and be at the school, but to support my family and be a laborer and find an actual paying job in Kathmandu. And I went back again. I packed my bag and went along with other villagers who doing a labor work in Kathmandu.
And you say it so matter-of-factly, and it's like such adult responsibilities, but you can't have been more than, 12, 13 at the time?
I would have been at least 13 by then when I decided to go back again. And I actually had my brother going to school that time, the two of the brothers still young, and my older sister was still married and gone away by then. And I had the youngest sister, Fulmaya, who lives in Australia right now. It's, to think about back, it's almost unbelievable situation. And if that situation was given to me again, I wouldn't know how to respond. But that's what I did. I decided to go back to Kathmandu and provide an education for my two brothers. Back then, I still didn't believe that the girls should have the right to go to school because I was only 13 and I was still thinking just like any other village boy and anyone. So that's my situation back then.
What kind of job did you get in Kathmandu?
When I went back to Kathmandu, like I mentioned earlier, I went with other villagers who work in the labor industry, collecting raw materials on the building construction sites, loading, unloading, offloading bricks and sands and any building material. So I worked in construction site at the building house in Kathmandu. It was hard work.
Yeah, I bet. And, the money that you sent back meant your brothers could go to school. And obviously, education is so important to you. And your fight to get educated yourself, your younger sister, Fulmaya, who now lives here in Australia with you, she had a lot to do with that kind of inspiration for you fighting to get educated, get her educated, because you saw the kind of fate of girls in your village. What kind of happened? Can you talk me through the situation? Because obviously, like, young boys would go to school until they were, in grade 5 and then work as labourers, essentially. What was the situation with the girls?
When I left the village to work in the labor industry again and support my family, back then I haven't even thought about my sister going to school. That really became later in the years once I got involved in tourism and becoming a porter carrying backpacks to people who come to conquer the Himalayas. So that was later in the year. And talking about labor and situation, earning money, that was a whole new level of challenge for me. I would work in bricklaying, handling all this labor intense work in the construction site. The challenge was also after I worked for months and days and weeks, because I was still young, I couldn't fight back. I experienced bonded labor, or quite opposite to bonded labor, I would say. Actually, is not a bonded labor, because I would work, but I wouldn't get paid. I would need to fight to get my money for the work that I have done for months. When I want to go back to see my family to give the money.
You wouldn't even get paid.
Yeah, in many cases, I had to fight. I had to find adult who could support me to get my money back from the work that I have done for the last few months. And that was challenging. So finding another contractor to work for who would pay me after I work, and then just going from contractor after contractor was a whole new level of challenge. And through that journey, that's when I ended up in district of Tamil, where tourists hang out, backpackers came to go to Mount Everest. That's when I started working alongside foreigners, carrying their backpacks to trek up to Everest Base Camp. That's when my life really started shifting and changing. And that's when I recognized that girls should also go to school, not just the boys.
Yeah, talk me through that job. Like, I can imagine just the sheer hard work that it would be. I mean, climbing up to base camp, there and back. But also, yeah, you said it was that shifting point, that transition. How did your life change with that job?
It was like a dream come true to be working alongside foreigners from all around the globe. And I met so many incredible people during the journey. It changed my life forever. If it wasn't the tourists, if it wasn't working as a porter, carrying backpack to go to Everest Base Camp, I would never made it to Australia. I would have been just like any other village man or any other man in Nepal, just living a very simple life, married with a few children. So my life is changed because of the tourism, yes.
What happened then? Because I know that you eventually came to Australia when you were 20. Was that directly after you stopped the tourism job? What happened in between that?
I was lucky enough to meet many, many wonderful people supporting my village and supporting what I wanted to do. And it came to a day once that who supported me to come to Australia to actually learn more English. But that led me to be able to call Australia home. So I have joined TAFE to study English. And also I got married in Australia after a few months of arriving in here. And a few years later, I became an Australian citizen. And then I joined the university. And during that journey, I was also able to start a charity, Friends of Himalayan Children. So it's just a whole new level. The opportunity that I was given by others. And still today, I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't others.
Yeah, incredible. And look, we're going to get to all of that. Just such an incredible story. Talk me through, because you live in Cairns currently, but did you also, have you been in Cairns the whole time?
Yes, I'm 20 years. My life has been in Cairns. It's a choice that I made. Cairns has been wonderful to me. I always thought about. I always had a dream to go bigger cities and doing bigger things. But when I really think back and sit back and think clearly, what bigger things will I achieve in a bigger city other than Cairns? I have completed my university degree in James Cook University in Cairns. I have completed my school age certificate here at TAFE, and I was able to register the charity and bring a committee together, a non-for-profit organization. And I also started my company to take people to the Himalayas to provide opportunity for young girls and people I raise employment. So yeah, this is fantastic little town. Cairns has been the best ever in my life.
And you've actually able to, obviously, you go back and forth to your village quite often. You have over the past 20 years, and you've actually been able to take local Aussies, people from Cairns, with you to support, to volunteer. Talk through that a little bit.
Yeah. Look, it's not only helping my community, and I also seen that a lot of people been helped through the journey that I have taken them to my village and support my school and support Friends of Himalayan Children Hostel. I've been able to take many university student groups on their placement journey to complete their teaching degree, to do their fourth year placement in my village school. And also I came up with this wonderful idea of taking young students after they finish their high school from Cairns, Australia, instead of going to Gold Coast or Bali and getting drunk. I was able to create, it's called a Better Schoolies program. So I was able to take them to do some community work in my community back in Vatasi village, which transformed many young students' life in Australia by the experience they had in Batase with me, contributing to the world, contributing to the community, same time receiving more than what they're giving.
Yeah, just incredible. Now, talk to me about Friends of Himalayan Children, because it's just an amazing organisation. How did that actually come about?
I always wanted to help my family. I was able to do it with my own earnings, and I was also able to help few other people other than my family, but more I help, the more people I see that wanting help. So back in 2007, there was a lot of civil war in Nepal, a lot of civil unrest within the country because of the government issues. So during that time, many children were being taken away from villages into a lot of fake orphanages in Kathmandu. So I seen the need to keep the children in the village by supporting their family to let their children go to school. So during that time, that's when I saw I need to upgrade the school. I need to make the school to higher grade from grade 3 to 5 and 5 to 8. So when I actually approach other aid agencies like AusAid organization, Australian Embassy, British Embassy, so when I wanted a little fund like $1,000 to put extra one classroom, I was rejected because my village was not part of their program to donate money to fund the school. So when I came back to school, that really made me really upset. So I started going to the markets, in the weekend markets at the Rusty's Market in Cairns, and I started bringing products that my village people made, like handbags and other little items. And I sold those things at the markets, and I told the reason for the local community why I was doing. So through that connection, I were able to gather few helpers and few people. And they asked me, what do you really want to achieve? How can we help? So I said, I told exactly same story, my situation, and I told them, I want to build school. I want to make the community school bigger and greater because the kids, after they're about 9 years of age, they have to give up school because only up to grade 5, and I need to take the school to grade 8. That's when I put some people together and we organized a committee and we put Prince of Himalayan Children non-for-profit together. That's how it really began my journey.
And when you look back now, however many years later, 17 years later since you formed the organisation, what has the impact been? How does the village look now?
Look, you're giving me goosebumps, and it's really village is transformed, and I can't imagine village without the school right now. Since I started the school, the first few years, since the charity help, first 5 years, it was still missing girls from village being taken to India because of the opportunity that they didn't have to go to school and parents did not understand. So now, near last 10 years, we haven't had the girls missing in a young age, like 13 years of age, leaving village to go be taken to India. It's a true transformation. The children will not be lured to false dreams like I was once lured into because they want to go to school. So that's a real change. We have young girls going to school until grade 10 in Batase. And by the time they're grade 10, they're 16, they're 15, 16, 17. And they know if anybody come and offer a really great opportunity, they know that's a lie because they're not going to get that. They study in the school. They know the story. The parents also understand this because their children have explained to them what a lie it would be if they're going to be told they're going to be adopted to go to school in Kathmandu. It's not true. Everyone knows there's no free lunch. There's always, whenever people offer you something, it's never for free. It's that I have learned over the years, and you would know yourself.
Now, there is a brand new campaign that's been launched alongside Rotary to bring the school to grade 12. Som, can you tell me more about that and why that is just so necessary?
Yeah. Look, after grade 10, children and teenagers still have to leave the village. They have to go away. And sometimes the parents can't afford and young people want to continue. And some continue, some can't. But I believe that if we help to complete the school to grade 12 and bring good resource and facility to complete grade 12 in Batase, I think that will increase even greater opportunity for the young people. So one of the reasons I'm campaigning this is because when children and teenagers leave the village in a younger age, they lose the value of the village, value of the community. One of my asks for the young people is to stay and contribute to the Batase village where they come from. So the more longer they spend in the village, the better chance that they will come back to help or continue and finish their higher education. When they finish their university, there is a chance to come back and make village sustainable. So when they're young and they go to Kathmandu, they're just used to this city life and they can't adjust adulthood in the village. So because of that, I'm strongly believing and campaigning that we complete the higher education up to grade 12 in Batase and then create that opportunity, and creating that opportunity will keep the population in the village going and also that will continue. That's my hope. And through Rotary Club, International Rotary Club, and Friends of Himalayan Children, we are hoping to complete the building where we will be able to provide classroom and accommodation space. So that way we can function the school in normal. So hopefully people will be generous. Hopefully people will join force this campaign. Hopefully people will donate, and also hopefully people will come and see the project and believe in what I do.
Yes, fantastic. Now, the hostel, do the children stay there during the week or do they go to and from home?
The current hostel we have, there's a two type of hostel. There's one hostel for Friends of Himalayan Children where we rescue the children and they stay there until they become an adult.
Oh, okay. Tell me more about that. I don't think we've talked about that yet.
Like I mentioned earlier, there are many, many children like myself and like my sisters. So any children being forced to being married by their parents can come to our hostel. We will have no question. We will rescue the girls to come and stay there to complete their education. And also when it comes to an instant, they become an orphan and they have no parents to look after. And if their uncles and aunties can't take it, they also have a place. That's the Friends of Himalayan Children Hostel. So they come there and we have a sponsored children program where people can donate monthly to support education for one child or two or 10. And also we do fundraising events in Cairns and a lot of people do in other parts of the world as well. And other hostel is at school where the kids has to walk for 5 hours to get to my village school from different villages. And some of the parents can afford to pay for their food and living at the school, and they come and stay there to continue the school. So there's a two type of hostel in Batase.
Yeah, incredible stuff. Now, Som, this all sounds wonderful when you lay it out like this, but it hasn't been without hardship. And as I mentioned at the start of the episode, the biggest earthquake in Nepal's history in 2015, two earthquakes really in April and May, that completely devastated the village and turned the school to rubble. Am I correct in that?
Yes, during the earthquake, everything, my community and myself and people in Cairns in Australia donated lots of money to build, and we had completed many classrooms, and everything built is by hand, soil and rocks stacking together. There's no infrastructure to cover cyclone or hurricane or any earthquake. So during the earthquake, everything was destroyed, everything came down, and we nearly lost some hostel children. Thankfully, everybody's okay. But during the earthquake, I also lost one of my brothers while he was in some work to do at another village to actually do some school visit because of the children going to different school and wanting to come to our school. So I lost my brother and I lost everything we have built. And that was biggest challenge. But thankfully, the world got together and many people donated towards the cause. And we managed to rebuild the school. We managed to rebuild the houses. And after the earthquake, we managed to build the school not only in Batase, many other villages, at least 2-3 villages. We were able to provide school resources and building materials. People being so generous. But apart from that, there are many challenges. It's not easy to do voluntary charity work.
No, I can imagine. I'm so sorry to hear about your brother as well. How do you like best to remember him?
He was one of my huge to-go person. He was just finished his bachelor degree just before the earthquake. He was the board member at the school, in the village school. board member of the other community organization in the village to contribute to the community. And he was a person who organized everything to achieve in regards to rescuing children or building buildings, anything. So he's one of the greatest support that I lost.
I'm so sorry. But it's clear the work that, he did and that you are doing is just so completely impactful. Tell me about Take on Nepal, Som. Obviously, you were a trekking guide when you were younger. This is something you're very passionate about, but you wanted to create opportunities for other people, coming through your village and other villages. How did it all begin?
Since I left slave labor into construction site, so I was myself a trekking porter, and then I became a guide. I were able to speak multiple different languages to communicate and serve the trekkers by age of 16. And I knew that this was way out of poverty for me. I knew the opportunity is greater. I knew that working through with the tourists was the way out of my miserable life. So I worked hard, and sure enough, that was true. I came to Australia, and of course, I was raising a lot of children through Friends of Women and Children charity, but then they didn't have anything to go after they finished their university, after they finished their college. So Take on Nepal had to come about. And a lot of people I took to Nepal to see my project. I was actually volunteering to be their tour guide in the early 2009, 2010. So by 2012, I was sure enough I had to start this Take on Nepal to provide authentic experience to explore the Himalayan nation, which many people go to each year from Australia and other part of the world, and to create a job opportunity. So early days in my time, there was no girls becoming a guide or porter working in the tourist industry because women were not seen cool to work with tourists. So I wanted to change that. So that's one of the many reasons that I started Take on Nepal. And it really grew. It really became almost a viral. So since I started Take on Nepal and Women Guides, if you look now online, almost every company is offering women guide and women-only tours. They're copying me. And this is such an inspiration for me. Many business owners, when they see they copy you, they don't like. But this is greatness for me, and I am so happy other people are copying this Women Guide project. So now in Nepal, along the trekking trail, you see many, many women runners, women trekking guides, women climbers. So it really came up really openly in last 10 years. Before 10 years, there was very, very rare. In fact, in the early stage of my Take on Nepal life, I would send a girl to be a guide with two men because they're qualified, because they're capable. But tea houses in Everest region, there was a case where my female guide, Samjana, were rejected for our clients because she was a woman with two other male as a guide. They believed that was a wrong thing and women shouldn't be hanging out with tourists. And this really even inspired me more. And this really made me even go further with this Take on Nepal Women Guide journey. So I started with massive push for women guides, and I started training every single girl come out of my Friends of Himalayan Children education. I started giving opportunity to train them as a guide, and that really went to next level. And Take on Nepal, we are really not only giving opportunity for the girls, but also we're teaching our young boys to play an equal role and accept the girls can be the guide. So it's been a wonderful journey. Take on Nepal definitely is changing life of many girls and boys in Nepal. Same time, you can actually read our Google reviews, what people think of us. Even itself, when I read myself those reviews, I see I'm not only changing the life of my village people, my team in Nepal. I'm changing a lot of life, like Kirsty, the author of my book. She will openly tell how her life is changed from being in the Tasik. So I'm actually allowing people to see the world in completely different perspective because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm building whole new community in Tech on Nepal.
I want to go back to your family now because we mentioned at the start of the episode your sister was a big inspiration for you starting this work, and you wanted to save her from the situation that you were in, from being forced into marriage like your older sister almost was. And not only did she have an education, but she now has a degree and lives with you in Cairns. How is it? Pretty great having your sister kind of alongside you?
Yes, definitely. I'm so grateful. My sister is here. She's been one of the role models for not being married in early age before she finished her university degree. And she's been a great support along here in Cairns as well. She is definitely a good role model for many girls in Batase.
Yeah, wonderful. Now let's talk about life in Cairns a little bit. It sounds like everything you're doing honestly feels like more than a full-time job, but you're also a youth support worker here in Cairns. I can imagine that probably comes quite naturally to you given your past work. Do you like it?
Yeah, I definitely thought that a job like this didn't exist. I didn't know there was a youth working role as a job. If I knew, I would have started 20 years ago. This job only came about when everything got shut down on me because of the COVID. I needed to look for the job. When I looked the job online, the youth work really sounded wonderful for me. And I applied a couple of jobs and I got interviewed a couple of jobs and I walked into it. It was really different to my expectation. It was really, really different. I worked for last 4 years. It is rewarding. It is challenging. However, a lot of risk. So I had to think about, and the raising children takes the community, not just one person. So in that sense, I realized I needed a change. Now, instead of working for youth, I'm going to work for adult and elderly people. So I'm going to continually support people, but I decided to support the adult.
Let's talk about your family as well. Susan, your soulmate who you married just after a few months of moving here. How did you actually meet? Because she's originally from Ireland?
Yes, she is Irish, and we met during this journey, that working journey. She was working for Migrant Settlement Service in Cairns, and there was a lot of Bhutanese refugee who lived in Nepal for 20 years back then. There was a third country settlement program through United Nations, and we had to make the settlement ready. And I was the only person in Cairns back then who would speak Nepali and Nepali person. So I was working alongside with her as a support settlement worker, and I also was an interpreter for her during the newly arrived Bhutanese community in Cairns. And that's what really our journey, start of our life was.
That's so sweet. Love at first sight?
Definitely, she agrees with that. And she was really impressed that I was able to tell she was Irish, because I was the first time that could recognize she was Irish.
How did you recognize that? Was it just a lucky guess?
Irish people, during my time in Cairns, I worked in the hospitality and I met many, many Irish backpackers. And I realized in many ways, Irish culture was very, very similar to Nepalese culture in the sense of that friendliness and caring and very drinking as well. Yeah, so a lot of similarities in many ways, like their history with England and my history with India. We had a lot of similarity, and that really connected quite nicely. And after a few weeks of working together, we made the decision that we were going to be together, and we went and bought a little unit to live together because we were both staying at share house back in the days.
Yeah, wow, that's a huge step so soon.
Yes, absolutely, because if you're going to do something, you may as well do it.
I love that. I love that so much. Now, Som, I want to talk quickly about the book Himalayan Dreams, your story, written by the wonderful Kirsty Nancaro, who I'm actually going to be interviewing for the Hope Book Club podcast, which is out next week. So make sure to listen to that one. How do you feel about the book finally being out in the world? I understand it's been a very long process.
It's been a very long process, definitely very stressful because Kirsty always tried to find a publisher and also trying to find the process was more than what she expected and what I expected. And finally, that is over. And I am really, really grateful for that. It's been such a good feeling. Book is out.
How does it feel reading about your own life story in a book?
I don't know. I feels like reliving, it's definitely feels great. There's not one thing that I regret in my life, what I have done, and everything I have done is come from sad story of my own resulted into good. When I look at my story back and when I think about what I have gone through, I shouldn't be helping. I should be very angry man trying to destroy the world, but I decided to turn that around and be more compassionate and care and allow people to understand and allow people to have an opportunity, people in my village and people who read my book and my story. I want people to be inspired, and the world is not the end. If you are going through a difficult situation, it's on your hand to change. That's my message. And that's what I hope people will understand from the book.
Yeah, just incredible. And honestly, like listening to you today and knowing what's in the book, it's like the story of someone who has lived double the years that you have. I mean, it's hard to believe that you're only 40 years old. Dare I ask, what are your hopes and dreams for the future? You've already achieved so much, Som. What do you hope to achieve next?
Look, I have three little children, and I just want to have more family time. And I hope that what I have started will continue for my village and for the people of here, because helping others and giving to others is not only benefit to people who are receiving, it's also people who give yourself also. You get pleasure, you get satisfaction, you that fulfilling. So that's what I hope that people will continue.
Incredible. Som Tamang, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the Finding Hope podcast today. Thank you so much for joining me. Himalayan Dreams is out now. All the details about that in the show notes. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Som.
Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you so much to Som Tamang for sharing his story today. Som's biography, Himalayan Dreams, is out now, and for more information on Som's work, including his incredible organisation Friends of Himalayan Children and the trekking business Take on Nepal, all that information will be in the show notes. And next week on Hope Book Club, I'm actually going to be speaking to the author of Himalayan Dreams, Kirsty Nancaro. So make sure you're subscribed to Hope Book Club to get that episode in your feeds. It's a fantastic one. Finding Hope will be going on a short hiatus while I'm on some annual leave, but we'll be back in about 4 weeks' time. I'm Georgia, and thank you for listening to this episode of Finding Hope. To help this podcast reach more people, as always, you can rate, review, subscribe, or just share this episode link with a friend who you may think needs a bit of extra hope right now. For now, I'll leave you with this verse. Instead of each person watching out for their own good, watch out for what is better for others. Philippians chapter 2, verse 4. Catch you next time.